Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. For whatever reason, there we go. Haha, check. How's it going, everybody? Good to see you. Yes. Poppy, this is a new time. I have been Happy New Bear. Yeah, that's right. What's up? Willa, how you doing, Poppy? Lots of people in the chats already. Cool. Great to see you guys. Malcolm, you're retiring? What? Excellent. Excellent. Obsolete's even in the chats. All right. It's a new year. What's going on, people? Victory Gen. Um, all right, cool. Well, I imagine the price of silver has helped you out there, Malcolm. So good on you. We're live on Odyssey, Substack, on YouTube. If you're watching on alternative channels, that's cool. Give a shout. I'll try and keep up with the chats on the other channels. Yeah, right now, Poppy, we're doing well, not Fridays. We're doing Mondays and Thursdays at 4. I have way kind of too much going on to do every day right now. Unfortunately, I wish I could do every day. I'm maxed out. So, and I'm trying to take care of like the things I got to take care of. So, I will get back to an everyday schedule ASAP. Let's see. Flip it to gold when the ratio compresses and it doubles again at least. Okay. So yeah, Monday and Thursday right now. Until further notice. I'm hoping I'm really shooting for I'm shooting for February, getting back to every day in February, but we'll see how that goes. All right. There's been a lot of talk about taxes. First, we'll start with Venezuela, I guess. It was learned roundaboutsly that sounds kind of sus, Kate. Somebody wants to give you $1,000 to buy silver. Is it that they can't buy the silver? Is that the problem? You need to be the front person. Do they have some kind of inability to buy it themselves? Yeah, it sounds really scammy. Hmm. But if somebody wanted to give me $1,000 to buy silver, I would totally do it. If I get to keep it, you want that? They want you to buy $1,000 and keep the silver, or give the silver to them. I'm confused. There's been a lot of talk about Venezuela, and Trump apparently called into this show and said, "Oh, we already hit Venezuela." To which everybody was like, "Oh, well, okay." Not a huge surprise, but maybe people were thinking, if you're going to do like wartime actions on people, maybe you should, let people know or something. I don't know. But we do a lot of stuff like that anyway. So, how many times have we hit a countries and didn't even, wasn't even a blip on the radar? I'm sure many, many times. So, anyways, let's start here. Hold on, I want to read this comment. They want give me or my husband all the information. Plus, my friend won't tell us who the gifter of the $1,000, but there are specific investment instructions. Okay, that's weird. Okay. Okay, Malcolm. All right. Well, I need to get back some silver because I sold my silver, and now I need to buy it again. And I'm kind of hoping that it goes back down a little bit. I'm really hoping that it goes back down a little bit, but it's already kind of did a little retrace. We'll see. So, oop, what's going on here? Hold on. I see what's happening. There we go. President Trump called in on the Katz and Cosby show. Who the heck is Katz and Cosby? Yesterday, saying the U.S. has already been conducting land strikes on Venezuela on Christmas Eve. I don't know if you read or saw, but they have a big plant or big facility where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out.
And I've told people that Maduro, Venezuela.
Does that sound like Trump? That barely sounds like Trump.
If Venezuela is going to provide a lot more oil to the United States of America if Maduro leaves.
Well, it's about a lot of things. It's about that.
That
it's about,
Trump.
They took our oil. They took it. And they also sent millions of people in there from jails into our country, from jails, some of the worst people on earth, Tren de Aragua. They emptied their jails into the United States. As you know, they send drugs in. And I don't know if you know, John, but drug traffic is down by sea now, 97.2%. Wow.
Nobody understands, Mr. President, that why the Democrats are objecting to knocking out those boats that are carrying drugs that are going to kill our people.
Is this guy?
Well, they're only objecting because I'm the one doing it. If it were anybody else, even another Republican, let's say you take a weak Republican, they would say, that's all right. But because they have Trump derangement syndrome, they're sick people. There's something wrong with them.
Okay. I can't really take this conversation, but the absolute faded moron who's like, well, I don't understand why people object to bombing these boats full of drugs. Stenographer much? Bro? What's up, Schulte? It yeah, it sounds like a comedy team, Katz and Cosby. And they're funny people because they can't really actually discern the truth. And they're on a news show. I have actually, Malcolm, I have something to read about silver. Hopefully I can get to it. That's very interesting. Concerning, but interesting. So Trump says that they struck Venezuela. Didn't offer any details. Alleged that U.S. forces hit very hard in what would make his team's first land strike on Venezuela, if confirmed. They have a big plant where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out, so we hit them very hard, blah, blah, blah. There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. That's what he's claiming. Trump confirmed in October that he had authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations in Venezuela. He's claiming that they sent millions of people here to to disrupt us, which I feel like is absolute nonsense. Almost everything, especially if it's coming from the Trump organization, is absolutely fabricated nonsense these days. And I hope that nobody is in the position of believing anything that they're saying or doing. A few things they are admitting to, of course, but like they're really hell bent on doing whatever they want and then just ginning up the lies in order to serve the purpose. So one of the things that Trump has been doing around Venezuela is saying that they stole our oil and our land. He's referring to when Chavez privatized or nationalized, not privatized, but nationalized some oil reserves and some land, which is within I guess legally maybe you could call it theft. I don't know. It's within a government's sovereign right to take control of their resources if they want to. And I'm sure that if we felt like we needed to take control of resources, that we would confiscate or do whatever it is we needed to do to control those resources, whether it was, legal or fair or not. Right. I heard some weird stuff about the Reiner. The Reiner murder seems to look. It may or may not be everything that they're saying it is. Again, all the news stories these days have to be looked at very, very strenuously. Anyways, if the U.S. strike or covert action is confirmed, it will mark the first land strike on Venezuela since the Pentagon began buildup of U.S. strike forces in the region to interdict drug traffickers, blah, blah, blah. All right, we know this is all a bunch of hooey. We're going to go to Marjorie Taylor Greene a couple times today. I know. She isn't my favorite font of news, or fount of news, whatever you want to say it. But she has the ability to at least, do like a broken clock and say some things that are true, even if her intentions or her real position in the world is not necessarily on the up and up. Anyway, she says MTG says few believe U.S. military buildup near Venezuela is about drugs. That is 100% correct. Few believe it. If you believe it, I don't know anybody that isn't like a paid operative of the government or the corporations or the news corporations who actually believes this cock and bull story. She points out facts. Maduro openly critical of Israel. Ooh, ding, 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 ding. There's a tie in there. Venezuela is a Catholic country. Abortion laws are strict. She's saying that it's part of it is because Maduro is critical of Israel and that he stands with Palestine. Although I would say that a lot of people, Trump is being somewhat truthful about the fact that they really want to just take assets. That's what it's about. He isn't necessarily, they're covering it with the drug story, but he is kind of nakedly talking about the assets. So She says people voted in 2024 against foreign intervention and foreign regime change, which is true. That was actually one of Trump's platforms. That's what MAGA voted for. They wanted less U.S. intervention in foreign affairs. And what they got was the opposite. So one more thing, let's look at Trump's claims about until such time as they return to the United States of America, all the oil, land, and other assets that they previously stole from us, the illegitimate Maduro regime is using oil from these, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so this is one of the claims that he's making. From Grok, yes, Venezuela has seized privately owned land and assets from U.S. companies, primarily through expropriations and nationalizations under Presidents Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. These actions focus on sectors like oil, energy, agriculture, and manufacturing, often justified as advancing social policies, food security, or agrarian reform. There's no mention of the fact that the UK stole billions of dollars in gold from Venezuela, confiscated lots of gold that was sitting in British banks. No mention of that. 2007, the government forced foreign oil companies to cede majority control to state-owned PDVSA and the Orinoco Belt projects. U.S. firms ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips refused the terms, leading to the seizure of their assets. So they refused the terms. Both pursued international arbitrations. ConocoPhillips won $8 billion in compensation, while ExxonMobil's claims were partially successful but later adjusted. So Trump is going way back and saying, hey, you can't be a sovereign country and do things like this. Apparently Britain can steal Venezuela's gold. Apparently the U.S. can seize Russia's assets. They do it all the time. They just make, you're bad. You're a bad person. We don't like you. They just make up whatever reason is. The reason is. And they take their stuff. So, keep crying, Trump, I guess. All's fair. In 2007, Venezuela expropriated Electricidad de Caracas, the largest private power producer. Owned by U.S.-based AES Corporation, they received $740 million in compensation for its 82% stake. So they were like, get out of here. Well, here's your stake. Here's your money, which they tried to do with the oil companies. They were like, here, we're buying you out. So they didn't like steal it. They said, here's your, we want you to go and get out of here. Here's your money. Bye-bye. Owens, Illinois, U.S. glass manufacturer, had its operations seized. Superior Energy Services lost equipment in 2013 due to non-payment and subsequent expropriation. Cargill had rice plants and warehouses taken in 2009 and 15. Koch Industries partially owned a fertilizer company that was nationalized in 2010. Agrarian land reform and private land. Under the 2001 land law and Mission Zamora, Venezuela expropriated millions of hectares of unproductive private farmland for redistribution to peasants and cooperatives. Power to the people. That's all right by me. While most targeted large Venezuelan-owned latifundios, some affected foreign owners. British Vesti Foods lost 500,000 acres in 2010. No major documented cases directly involved U.S.-owned agricultural land or individuals, U.S. citizens' private farms, though the broad policy created risks for any private landowner, foreign or domestic. I think they were doing the old Robin Hood. I don't know. I don't, whether you agree with it or not, that's what they did, but they were, they're their own country. They're talking about their land, their oil, their resources, which most people would say they have the right to. But on the whole, I think all of this is being used as an excuse for reasons, right? Drugs obviously are not. But is Israel pushing this? I saw another post saying that Israel was planning on invading more of Africa and in the Middle East, which I don't think is beyond them. Let's flip to Elliot Jacobson. The year 2025 came in at 1.47 C. It's awful close to 5. Above the 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial baseline, making it the third warmest year on record behind 2023 at 1.48. Let's call that 5. And 2024 at 1.6. Likely the third warmest in the last 120,000 years. We have hit the guardrail. We're going through the guardrail. The guardrail is breached. What does that mean? It's just going to keep getting hotter. What does that mean? It means the environmental consequences are going to put a strain on resources, all kinds of resources, on money, on infrastructure, on food, on water, on people's ability to conduct business as usual, on people's ability to be safe in their homes, on people's ability to grow food for themselves or at scale for the world population. And that is, quietly or not so quietly going on in the background while everybody is, discussing the political or economic things that are going on, devolving, if you will. But in the background, what's happening is it's getting hotter. Things are getting more out of control as far as the climate goes. And eventually that's going to push in real hard on the conversation about what's happening on planet Earth. Yeah, I don't know what more to say about this. It's ongoing. We know it's happening. So we've seen extreme weather events just ramping up over especially the last 5 years. It seems to have gotten significantly more out of control. So Malcolm says almost certainly the real cause of the political stuff. Well, it makes sense if the people in charge know that the climate is about to unravel in a very significant way. You would have a lot of people trying to secure resources that would allow them to ride through the future. And so, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, Poppy. You're going to go lurker. All right. All good. All good. We're going to hit MTG again. There has been a lot of talk about a tax revolt this year. I don't know that Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for a tax revolt is actually a good thing. Kind of because I don't really sounded like a comedy routine, says Kate on Odyssey. Okay. It kind of because I don't necessarily trust her as a real, outside voice to the powers that be. Who knows, though? Who knows? Hansen says 2027 will be a kicker year. Well, and then everybody's saying economically the next 2 years are going to be kickers. So I think we're going to just have to roll up into a fetal position and get ready to be kicked. I don't know. But nonetheless, a lot of people are talking about a tax revolt. I'm not telling anybody what to do or what to think about this. I am with the folks that want to pull power and resources away from the people who are trying to hoard and suck up all the power and the resources. So as much as people can divest from, the multi-death corporations, then I'm all for that. As much as people can divest from the economy as a whole, I'm all for that. As much as people can divest from, to just altogether stop playing the game and stop playing as much as you can withdraw your energy from the system, I support that. Whatever way you want to do it. Wayne says we need more than just a tax revolt. I agree, man. And somebody actually says just that. So we're gonna real quick go through this. She endorses a tax revolt. This is from December 31st. Representative MTG Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia is backing supporters of President Donald Trump who are calling for a 2026 tax revolt, saying their frustration with Washington is justified as Americans struggle with soaring debt, unaffordable living costs, and foreign aid spending. The Congresswoman framed the movement as a response to decades of bipartisan policies that prioritize foreign wars and immigration over Americans' economic security. Her comments come as activists plan rallies and protests under the banner of a tax strike, highlighting deepening anger ahead of the 2026 midterms. We're going to talk about the midterms too. This is Trump's base. This is MAGA. Bella, nobody's censoring you, sir. Or I hope you're not being. I like F YouTube and all that. If they're censoring your posts, I'm sorry. I promise you, I am not censoring you. Okay. So this is again, what she's saying is absolutely true and correct. So like her or not. Auto censor from YouTube, yeah, probably. Well, you won't be censored on Odyssey, Bella, or Substack, I don't think. I can see your comments. With dissatisfaction growing among U.S. voters about government spending, spiraling debt, foreign aid, the call for coordinated tax protests carries potential consequences for public services and the political climate. If the tax strike garners substantial support, it could disrupt state revenues and prompt a broader debate on Washington's priority and fiscal management, which there's something to be said for withholding your energy, slash money. There you go, Kate. If you're auto censored, just self censor and everything will be fine. Jeez. So I mean, all of this is making a lot of sense, and she's not the only one saying this. Plenty of people have been saying this. I think she's just echoing. I think what she's doing is trying to get out ahead in front of what people have been saying on social media already for several months. So she's just getting out there and trying to claim it, get a little hype, a little publicity. Look at me, I'm calling for what everybody else has been calling for months, right? They're thereby possibly raising enough awareness around that in government circles to possibly do some kind, right? Do some kind of retaliation, or who knows? Malcolm says tax revolution is just the system shock absorbing the strife, an outlet to prevent real revolution. Well, and she isn't running for re-election. That's true. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I'm not against the idea. I'm not necessarily going to tell you what what I would do, or Anyways, organizers have scheduled tax strike rallies in multiple U.S. states for January 3rd. That's tomorrow, 2026. Social media posts and posters publicize events at locations such as Oregon State Capitol, where speakers are set to include right-aligned local politicians. This is coming from the right and the left, by the way. This is not a right-wing movement. Sal the agorist, forget about a tax revolt. Most people are too scared to be non-compliant. Which, I really hate when people say, don't do that. Stop trying. I'm like, don't take away people's energy from trying something, anything. Most people are too scared. The entire tax collection doesn't even suffice to pay the interest on national debt. Taxes are about obedience, not government funding. Yeah. You want to keep your money away from the pedophile class? There's only one way. Be your own bank. Use crypto, buy precious metals, and stop using fiat currency. Well, there's that. This is the single most revolutionary act an individual could take. I'm sure there are there'll be lots of debates about the validity of that statement. I think most people would agree with the precious metals. Maybe not so much agreement around crypto. I don't know. Your posts are on Substack. You were at the first Tea Party of the 21st century. Robert Bowman, Kevin Barrett, and the Boston 9/11 Truth. We threw cases of 9/11 Commission report into the Boston Harbor. So yeah, fuck yes. Fuck yes all. Scenes from the Tea Party for 9/11 Truth in Boston, 2006. Before Alex Jones and Ron Paul took it over, and then in ultimate irony, the very Zionist neocons that did the job. Wow. Yeah, sounds about right. That sounds about right. Right. So you have, I mean, I alluded to the script as much as you just said. Which is like you have a legitimate groundswell of concern about something or a protest about something, and then you have bigger personalities come and take over the movement, right? I don't, even though MTG is correct in what she's saying, I don't trust her saying it for a second. In fact, that raises the hackles on my neck, and it also, raises a lot of red flags for me. Start a business and invest your own money before it's taxed. Call it gardening and stockpile food seeds or something. There you go. Are you let's see. So, I mean, again, withdrawing your energy, your money, your support from the fiat system, I think is a fine thing to do. Fred says work under the table. There's another way. I agree. With the insane amount of corrupt inflation going on, the corruption and the inflation going on, the fact that these corporations, especially tech corporations, are stealing money from people hand over fist, stealing wage theft from their workers, just absolutely trying to rake in like as much profit as they can at the expense of their workers, their customers, the planet, everything, right? They're going for it. All of this is going to create a lot of black markets for people wanting to get away from, right, the corporations, the apps, the things that are the tech controlled economy. People are going to more and more try to get away from that, and so what that's going to do is create something of a black market, or a, as you say, an under the table market, says Fred, or parallel systems, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, as much as you can get out of the system or away from the system or off the grid or away from the grid, or just less dependent on it, then that's what you should do. Whatever way it is that you think that you should do it, that's what you should do. Malcolm says, I live in a caravan on a touring park, work agency labor, and turn my cash into silver. Good on you, sir. That is the way, the truth, and the light. Okay, here's somebody else talking about a tax.
Has anybody else started to reach their breaking point or a boiling point? So this is starting to look like a country that I am no longer proud to have served. I've been working my entire adult life, and I have paid half or more than half back to the government in some way, shape, or form in taxes for the past 30 years. And if you don't believe me, look up everything that you have that is taxed. State income tax, federal income tax, property taxes, payroll taxes, Medicare taxes, Medicaid taxes, sales taxes,
gas tax.
Everything is taxed. Everything. And we have a political apparatus where half of them say that if you don't keep us in power, we will steal from you so that we can import people that will. So shut up and go back to work. And another side of the aisle that is either in on it or is totally complete chicken shit and won't do anything about it and won't even try to actually represent the people that vote for them. Is anybody else getting to a point where we feel like we cannot vote our way out of this? Where does that leave us? Because nothing is going to happen about the fraud. Nothing. All of the fraud that Elon Musk and Doge.
And this is fraud fatigue. Is what he's talking about? I'm going to cut him off right there. Is what I'm talking about. Like, people are so sick of being stolen from or being just raked over the coals that they are willing to immediately do some black market stuff, some off the book stuff, because they're just getting, literally raped everywhere you turn. You're getting just going out for dinner, going to get an Uber, going to get a, whatever it is, you're just getting raped everywhere you turn. You're just getting absolutely fleeced. And it sucks because even the small businesses who are trying to stay afloat, who have to charge exorbitant prices just to stay afloat, people feel like they're getting absolutely ripped off. So it's, that's why only the larger corporations are able to really, make any money or make a profit or stay in business. And the smaller companies get edged out more and more because it gets harder to turn a profit because your overhead is so high. I totally understand how hard it is to run a small business and have this massive overhead. I totally get it. But people don't want to go out anymore. People don't want to go out to eat. People don't want, are trying to minimize like everything that they're doing because everywhere you turn, you get fleeced. And people are sick of it, right? And so they're looking for any way to, parallel economies are coming, right? Where people are going to do other things outside of the normal avenues, right? So that they don't just get fleeced every single time they just step outside of their house. Because that's what I hear people say, like, I don't even want to go out because every time I go out, I'm just getting absolutely raked over the coals. Bola. It's true. Yeah, every time I go out to eat, I'm just like, what the? I went out to the movies the other night. And listen, I usually go to this. There's a cheap movie theater. Here's the thing. There's a cheap movie theater in town where I usually go, and it costs, whoever is going, however many people are going, it usually costs half the money to go to the cheap movie theater than it does to go to another theater. And if you go to another theater, a regular theater, it's just insane. Like, I can't even tell you how much cost me, one person, to go see a movie and get some popcorn the other night. It was insane. And so it almost makes me not even want to go. And so I'm like, how are you guys? This is ruining, the fact that you are charging this much money is ruining your business model. You're putting yourselves out of business because at some point people are going to go, nah, no, thank you. I'm good. No, thanks. I'm straight. You're putting yourselves out of business. And the funny thing is, the cheap movie theater shows all the same movies that all the other movie theaters do, serves the same popcorn and the same drinks for half the price. Meaning all the other places are just ripping you the fuck off. Like, they're just ripping you off. There's no need to charge that much. This other place can stay afloat. This other place can show all the same movies and serve all the same popcorn for half the money and stay in business. So all these other places are absolutely full of shit and just charging as much as they can get from people, which is not a good business model. Terrible business model, terrible business ethics, terrible business plan, terrible business model to just rape everybody for as much money as you can get from them every time they step out the door. It's ridiculous. I say it over and over and over. I know I'm, sound like a broken record these days, but like, I say this in hopes that somebody hears me, through a wall or it happens, just in passing, somebody hears me who might go, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe this is the wrong way to go. But I don't know. They all want to put themselves out of business because eventually people are going to go, nah, no thanks. I know. I know. Obviously adopted. I know. I said the words together. Yeah. And I agree with that. Bella. Yep. I say that to all the AI loving people out there. You are. Oh, hold on one second, guys. I gotta hold on. All right. Sorry about that. You wear cargo pants from nearest outlet. I might hit. Let's see. Yeah. Well, if you can, just try to buy back in, Fred. Yeah. Try to buy back. If there's a dip, buy back in. Whenever that might happen. Okay. You think the dip just ended? Yeah, it might have. That's what I thought. I saw it go down to like 70 and I was like, oh, that was the time to buy. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just trying to get some money together so I can possibly get some more pretty soon. But so let me. Oh, the premiums. Yeah, the premiums. Let's see. Where else can we go here? Okay, so quickly, I want to cover a couple things for we'll go a little bit longer today. I know I'm only doing these shows twice a week right now. Dealers are scared about buying. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, okay, Malcolm. Yeah, I'll check that out. Good. Well, hold on. A bunch of comments came up in here. Nope. Here we go. Yeah, man, I bought a bunch when it was like $15, Wayne. That was a long time ago. I ended up having to sell it. That's my problem, is that I get flush and I buy a bunch of metals, and then I then I hit a rough spot and I have to sell it. So That's pretty much, I can't hold on to it. Okay, I'm going to play a couple of things or talk about a couple of things before I leave. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll go a couple minutes longer. If you want to support the show, you know where to do it. There are lots of links in the description box. On Odyssey and YouTube. You can support at Substack or Patreon. Thank you, all the Patreon people. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. This is Dre talking about the upcoming election cycle. Listen, everybody's talking about this postmark thing. I always thought, that's why, like, if I wanted something postmarked on a certain day, I take my letter to the post office so that day that it can get processed and postmarked. Like, it doesn't get postmarked when it is marked, the postmarked. Like, people are talking about the change in the rule, and I'm like, what hasn't it always been this way? Or maybe I just didn't understand. Like, it's not they don't know when you put it in the mailbox. I guess maybe if they pick it up on a certain day, they count it being picked up that day. Anyways, I'm confused about this thing a little bit. This whole postmark thing and how it's going to affect the upcoming elections. Okay, for what it's worth, yeah, take that into consideration. I have always thought, like, if you want your mail postmarked on a certain day, you take that sucker to the post office and you hand it to them so that it is postmarked that day. Everybody should know this. This should have always been understood, and for some reason there's like kind of confusion around it. Anyway, I don't know. All right, let's watch.
Request your ballots immediately. All right, no more funny business. It is 2026. Happy New Year and all that jazz, but it is time to lock in. I need you guys focused here because this might be one of the most important voting years in all of American democracy. Look, I know we all woke up a little hungover today. I know I woke up sick and clammy and sweaty, but all 435 House seats are up for grabs this year, 33 Senate seats, 36 governorships. It is so important that we get this message out there. The composition of Congress determines what the president is allowed to do over the next 2 years. Okay, it's state-level governments that control redistricting, abortion access, voting rights, education funding, healthcare policy. Anything that matters to you, the individual, is up for grabs this year. And voter turnout in midterms is always low, but this year, the postal system just got a lot slower and the rules got a lot stricter. So let's break this down. First, let's go over the calendar so you know when your state is voting, and then let's talk about what just happened to your ballot. Primaries start in March. On March 3rd, you've got Arkansas, North Carolina, and Texas. On March 10th, you've got Mississippi. On March 17th, you've got Illinois. In April, we have one state voting on the 18th, and that is Louisiana. We've got a busy month in May. On May 5th, we have Indiana and Ohio. On May 12th, we have Nebraska and West Virginia. On May 19th, we have Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. And we've got an even busier June, okay? So June 2nd, we have California, Iowa, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, and South Dakota. On June 9th, we have Maine, Nevada, North Dakota, South Carolina. On June 16th, we have DC, Oklahoma, and Virginia. On June 23rd, we have Maryland, New York, and Utah. And then we wrap up June on the 30th with Colorado. And we keep on rolling into August. On August 1st, we have Guam and the Virgin Islands. August 4th, we have Arizona, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Washington. August 6th, we have Tennessee. August 8th, we have Hawaii. August 11th, we have Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin. August 18th, we have Alaska, Florida, and Wyoming. Wrap it up with September. On the 1st, Massachusetts. On the 8th, we have New Hampshire and Rhode Island. And on the 15th, we have Delaware. So remember to mark your calendars, set reminders, check your voter registration now. Now for the USPS postmark change. On December 24th, 2025, the U.S. Postal Service has finalized a rule change that affects how postmark works. For 70 years, the postmark meant the date that you mailed something. Now it means the date that your mail arrives at the regional processing facility and gets run through a sorting machine. So if you live more than 50 miles from a regional processing facility, which is most of rural America, by the way, then that means your mail could sit for days before it gets postmarked. On top of that, the USPS has eliminated evening pickups from rural post offices as part of their delivery network consolidation. So you could drop your ballot in the mail, let's say on a Monday, and it could not get postmarked until Thursday. And this matters for voting because in 34 states, your ballot must physically arrive at the election office by election day or it doesn't count. In 14 states plus DC, they have allowed ballots to arrive after Election Day so long as they are postmarked by Election Day. But in 2025, 4 states, including Kansas, North Dakota, Ohio, and Utah, have eliminated those grace periods entirely. And the Supreme Court right now is hearing a case that could eliminate those grace periods nationwide entirely. And this decision is expected to be made before the November election. Fun fact, in 2024, 30% of voters cast mail ballots, and of those, 584,463 ballots were rejected. 18% of those rejections were because ballots arrived late. In terms of what you need to do, number 1, you need to know your state rules. Number 2, request your ballots immediately. The second your state allows ballot requests, submit yours. Number 3, mail it back early. The USPS recommends at least 1 week before Election Day, but I'm going to say 2 weeks minimum, okay? 3 weeks if you're in a rural area, if we're being honest. Number 4, don't mail in your ballot.
Okay. I think you guys get the idea. It's the most important election in our lifetime. Yes. I don't know, guys. I don't want to take away people's energy from trying to get something changed. I don't think that voting for Democrats is going to change anything. It might just slow the ratchet down a little bit. Who knows? That's right. Extra bullet. None of that mattered. The DNC chose Harris after they chose Biden. They had the what are they called? Primaries. I was going to call them preliminaries. The primaries, where they said nobody run against Biden or we'll kick your ass out. And they did. And then they're like, only Biden. And then Biden's like, oh, no Biden, no, only Biden, now only Harris. So yeah, I don't know, guys. It's looking kind of bad. Nurse ratchet indeed. Again, I don't want to discourage people from having some energy for change, but golly. I think first we need to work on actually trying to put some different kind of folks on the ballot, and then again, who's counting the ballots? Again, how do the ballots work? It's just a mess. It's a mess. Next, this man thinks Trump is trying to crash the U.S. economy, and well, it seems like he's doing a really good job.
International trade, destabilizing the financial system, weakening core institutions, and consolidating wealth and power. So step 1, shrinking the labor force. Trump is deliberately creating worker shortages, removing millions of undocumented workers from farms, construction sites, hotels, and restaurants. Undocumented workers make up roughly half, yes, half of agricultural workers. And Trump knows this and what it will do to the food supply. Food is rotting in the fields with no one to harvest the crops. Housing construction is stalled, raising prices nationwide. Hospitality and tourism sectors face record staffing crisis. The result? Food shortages, higher prices, supply chain disruption. Now he's attacking legal immigration. The $100,000 H-1B visa fee makes it nearly impossible for tech companies to hire skilled workers. Tech will move to India, Canada, and Europe, leaving the US behind. Restricting student visas cuts off a future talent pipeline in medicine, science, and engineering. The goal? Make the US businesses struggle to operate, forcing closures and driving up consumer prices. Number 2, cut off international trade. Trump's trade policies isolate America from the global markets, hurting exports and consumers at the same time. Tariffs on imports raise everyday prices for goods. Retaliatory tariffs by other nations then block US exports, which have devastating effects on farmers and manufacturers. Pulling out of agreements like the TPP and threatening NAFTA partners pushes allies towards China's RCEP, the EU, MESCOR, and all other non-US trading blocs, leaving the US isolated. Allies like Japan, South Korea, and Australia now trade more with China than with America. The goal? Collapse export-driven industries while raising domestic costs, creating economic desperation. Number 3, destabilize the financial system. Trump is undermining the foundations of the US dollar, which underpins the entire global economy. Publicly attacking and threatening to replace Fed officials destroys market confidence. Businesses can't plan or borrow when they fear politically driven interest rates. Trump has openly suggested renegotiating or defaulting on US debt, a move that would send global markets into chaos. And as US reserve currency status weakens, inflation will skyrocket and retirement savings will evaporate. Given tax cuts for billionaires and corporations with no offset will balloon the national debt and raise borrowing costs. Goal: trigger financial panic, erode trust in the dollar, and push global investors to abandon the US. Step 4, weaken the core institutions. Strong economies require stable, predictable institutions, and Trump is actively dismantling them in the US. And he's turning courts and regulators into partisan tools, which scares investors and discourages entrepreneurship. Businesses need neutral enforcement of contracts to function. Trump destroys that trust, slashing budgets and hollowing out expertise in the Department of Commerce and the State Department and regulatory agencies. The U.S. has become incapable of coordinating trade policy or negotiating deals, leaving foreign rivals with the upper hand. The goal: turn government into an unreliable, unpredictable force, discouraging growth and making citizens dependent on Trump for stability. And the final—
what he's basically saying is it's a bad business model. It's a bad business model. That's it. Oh, anyways, I can't find this article, Malcolm. That I was looking at. That was they're basically saying that the the market price is going to decouple from the actual physical entity. So what they were saying is the market price is going to go to zero, and you won't be able to buy silver on because the cost of physical silver is just going to be so insane that it's going to be whatever $2,000 an ounce or whatever it might be. Who knows? You're just not going to be able to buy it. So the price of silver on the stock market will go to zero. The availability of zero of actual physical silver will be zero. So it was an interesting article. Yeah, you agree with that take? Anyways, and also the possibility that if things get out of control, the government can step in and confiscate silver and gold, or stop the private ownership of it, or stop the buying and selling of it. That's that also can happen. Huh. Oh, well, that'll be great for the economy too, right, Malcolm? Yeah. Who knows? It's going to be a crazy, kooky, topsy-turvy kind of year. Well, guys, that about does it for me, and that's my time that I have for the show. Its role as money is over. Now it is a rare earth we are desperate for, saving us from climate. Yeah, I don't think we have enough money in the world to save ourselves from climate. In fact, the only thing that will save us from climate is no money. You know what I'm saying? So money is, wealth will not save us from climate. The opposite of wealth will save us from climate. And whatever. Okay. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. I'll see you on Monday at 4 p.m. And thank you all for tuning in. And hope you all enjoy your weekend. All right. All right. Peace out, y'all. Until next time, beware the bear.